Fat Tuesday in the Matrix, Matt.
Two fatties and every Tuesday. That's just normal, isn't it, for us?
Matt, I love the porch that you shared. For sure, New Orleans, right? Getting ready. I got to tell you, they got to be. Not only have they been COVIDed out of an enjoyable Fat Tuesday and debauchery. Currently, Matt, 27 degrees in the Big Easy, freezing.
I mean, wow, 27 degrees in the Big Sleazy. That's pretty tough.
That's tough to make a living, freezing. And it's also, Matt, I know Detroit and Chicago, large Polish populations. I love my Polish.
Of which I have heritage.
Are you part Polak?
Oh yeah, my dad's mom, my maternal grandmother, definitely Polish.
Beautiful. Chicago. At one time, I don't know if it's true. The second largest population of Polish people outside of Warsaw was Chicago.
Oh yeah.
And this is the Pczaki Day. Punchki. Yeah,
like
punch me in the face. I'm trying to make weight. I can't make weight if you keep showing up with these punchkis, man. Tell me about the punchki.
I got to say, my father passed away last week, and I went into Detroit, and his wife was buying him 2 or 3 of these every day. This was the only thing he would eat. God bless him. And it's a Fat Tuesday thing, but they've gone because Detroit, like Chicago, is gluttonous, and they have nothing but good food like Chicago, right? So what do they have left? And it was interesting going back to Detroit and seeing it. It is a place stuck in time, just like Chicago is mostly. You go back into these neighborhoods and they look the same as they did in 1975 as they did in 1955. I mean, and the prices, by the way, I went to a Lebanese place and I got a shawarma for $4.25. It was, oh my God. And then, the Lebanese unleavened breads with the fantastic hummus. God bless
Good
my dad.
Stuff.
But the punchkis have become not only just a thing for Mardi Gras, the Fat Tuesday, but they've actually continued to sell these things around the year now because people are so gluttonous in the Motown that they love these. And by the way, you pick up a real punchki like this, Bob, they weigh literally about 18 ounces. One of them.
So if you're underweight and you need to make weight, if you want to jump a weight class.
If you want to get from that 122 to 129 featherweight or whatever, you want to throw down a couple punchkis.
If you want to punch at a higher weight class, you just do some punchkis.
But they really are good.
All right, man. Let's talk current temperatures. As I said, New Orleans 27 degrees. Man, I don't want to toot my horn I do. We've been talking about this since the article we shared on our cast January 15th. Polar vortex collapses, and it had been on the radar. And boy, I got to tell you, it's on a lot more people's radar now. It brings to light, a whole plethora of things from energy infrastructure to, we'll just be at the Green New Deal and everything will be fine. Well, hold on, wait a second. I really like the picture that I saw of the helicopter de-icing the windmill. I thought that was fun to watch. Well, my brother lives in Texas, man, and there is some serious hurt going on in Texas. I mean, for most of the southern, especially the southern part of the state, nothing is insulated. Like no pipes are. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that have burst pipes. Even when the electricity goes back on, and the water situation is going to be unfolding and troublesome. I don't know, man. It's an incredible situation.
I was talking to a friend the last day or two about who is wintering here in Oregon, if you could imagine, but he's from Duluth. So this is pretty balmy compared to Duluth right now. And he was like, you should see the temperatures. He goes, I was there for the all-time lowest temperature of minus 62. He was there. He said that was about 40 years ago, 1980. And can you imagine minus 62? He said they literally started he had a brand new Thunderbird. He owned a dealership up in Duluth. and he had a brand new Thunderbird that he had to start every 29 minutes. I think he got it nailed down to. And he said the thing was like, it sounded like it was like, metal on metal every time he started it, every 29 minutes.
I mean, that's just in Alaska, everybody just plugs in like that heating block is never, you just
Yeah,
plug
I don't
in.
think that, I just don't think they had it in all the cars in 1980.
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure. And Matt, this is something else that had been on our radar and that we had talked repeatedly about. Like, how severe does this have to be for it to cause reduction in yields for something like winter wheat? And if you want to jump off on the wheat chart, let's take a look at that. And here again, estimates 30% of wheat susceptible to significant damage, 15% spotty damage. So 45% of the crop seeing some damage.
Before we go to wheat, I'm going to go to beaks, and we talked about this again when OJ was trading down here at 106. Get long for the vortex coming in. It's already up to 114. That's a big move, Bob. The beaks polar vortex long is working out quite beautifully. As far as the wheat is concerned, yeah, it bounced right off the breakout area back here, a little after the orange juice, and is up trading 658 or so, up in another 3% today. So it's legit. And now it's now the fundamentals are the story's all about the weather. And just as your little note there says, hey, these guys could lose a big chunk of their crops, which will affect prices. Add into that the inflationary measures that we're seeing with interest rates and the cost of energy to go out there and till your land and check on things and do everything you need to do, right? It's being a farmer right now is not going to be a fun place to be.
Let's jump to at least one energy chart, Matt. And interesting to see how, from what I saw, some of the rolling blackouts were the energy companies saying, we're getting squeezed on the price of the energy. We can't produce the energy and sell it for a loss, so we're just not going to produce it.
I mean, and when does the government step in? You're getting to a point where literally some of these utilities are not hedged and they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. And natural gas hit a high of 321, 322 almost, and settled in at 314 as we speak, up 8% today, Bob. Remember at $3, we were saying take profits a little bit. Well, you didn't get much profit taking. You did come back to kind of this 275 level again, which we had pointed out about a week ago. Got to buy it.
More importantly, Matt, go back to January 15th when we first talked about the story.
Yeah, well, January 15th is, right around here, Bob. That's the 14th, 15th is right in here. So that was 264. So you had it tested that there at 274. And again, reload, sell at 3, reload at 275, and boom, off to the races. I would be taking profits again on big moves like this. I mean, you just have to be respectful to the moves. These types of moves are obviously because of the fundamentals and the weather that we're seeing. So don't be a pig. Don't be a pig, because it's not going to be minus 60 forever. And now's the time to book those profits, and also not the time to get short, but time if you've been long to take some profits and take some money off the table. Energies, it is for real what is going on. And then
for sure. You know what, Matt, the other thing that I think that it highlights is like so many things that the politicians want to say, it's an A-B answer, in an incredibly complex system like our energy system. It's incredibly complex, and you can't just say, we're going to stop drilling, because the wind and the solar, and more importantly, the storage hasn't solved the problem yet. So until you have the whole thing solved, why turn it all off?
How are your windmills and your solar panels doing when it's minus 60? They're not doing too well. There's nothing. There's nothing going on.
Batteries do not like ice.
They do not like it. And the other thing I want to talk about here is, couple that with what's going on in the 10-year, a new high. I mean, this is all happening the same day, by the way. Your 10-year rates are up 7.5% today. Holy smokes! You want to see some bonds and how they're getting crushed today? This is the interest rates. But if you want to take a look at what's going on with the ultra, Bob, it's It's pretty scary. I mean, and this
It's a
is
schmeeze, Matt.
it's a schmeeze, and and what's interesting is we've been talking about this, that bonds are telling a bigger picture here, and the equity market is still not responding to this, although it's down slightly today. But again, really not. I mean, it's down from the run up it had for being a long President's Weekend. From that, it's just been selling. It's been selling since Monday night. So we peaked at 230, and that was again the recent peak was in August, and before that we had a spike on the ultras. I think when we had the pandemic, we had one spike that took us even higher. But this is an ugly chart, no matter how you look at it, Bob. And you fractal out a little bit. You look at the daily. And let me try to bring this into some type of view here. This is not a pretty chart. And again, we've been talking about this. This is, we're gonna trade back into the 170s, if not 130s, over time. We're just getting into the top of the profile on the daily chart. So we basically had this. We've spent the last year blowing off, if you will. That the blow off happened on that March 15th bottom in the equity market, and the bonds have been doing nothing but trending lower, which in essence is driving again interest rates. This is interesting. I mean, we bottomed there at 4. This is, by the way, this is 0.4%, so 0.4 of 1%, and
Right.
now the 10-year is up to 1.3%, which again is coming back to prices we haven't seen since October of 19. So this is a significant change, but I also think we'll probably stop here and reverse a little bit before continuing. And I said that earlier in the marketvitals.io channel, that if you're not and you haven't been short the bonds, probably not the best time to start a short. Probably the best time to take profits is on these exaggerated moves like we're seeing today. Take the profits on your long side and or your short side, your upside interest rates, and expect to get a chance to kind of reload the short on any bounces that you see here after
Yeah, I
this.
mean, that's a pretty defined triple bottom there. There'll be a major argument there. But if they can get back above those lows, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. So this is becoming real. And again, we are, now we're 25 days into the Biden presidency. I mean, this is the unbelievable thing, Bob, is that he hasn't been president for a month, 1 month. And the schmeezing that these, wait until, and I just have to say this, when the equities and the housing markets aren't going up and magically, because of the FOMC and the central bankers, which is the only reason, and the lack of inventory, it's a lack of inventory in equities. It's a lack of inventory in housing right now. That's the only thing driving these markets, right? When everybody decides to exit the musical chairs game at the same time, when they realize it's too late, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have too much inventory and prices are going to go down. It's as simple as that.
Matt, speaking of too much inventory, I know that there was too much inventory of pot stocks last week, and a major, I think maybe Jay-Z pinged the top again with his marijuana SPAC. But anyway, I love this. I love this little permaculture because the cannabis has been around for many, 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 many generations, thousands of years. Only we've just rewoken up to it. But let's look at a few pot stocks because they did get some of them did get schmeezed, and maybe a good opportunity long term because I believe long term.
Yeah, I mean, one of the favorites I had was Tilray. Again, I was buying it at the $8 at the end of last year. I pushed it off in the 30s, Bob, and it went to 77. This was just last Wednesday, Thursday. And I did not get this final, after hours bump. I was selling, on this day in here back on the 9th. I was getting, out of my longs, which was, again, a 4 or 5 bagger. That move, again, nobody sold that. That was just after hours, news, earnings, blah, blah, blah. And then they crushed it from 76. It traded all the way back down into, the 20s, even this morning, 26. But I will say we found some buyers. And
Yeah.
again, you can tell by this is just a, a 5-minute chart, but we found some buyers here at the 30, 25, 27, 28, $30 level. And again, if you caught that bounce, I'd be taking profits again there, because you've got a 20% move intraday. I kind of have a rule. If I make 20%, I start peeling off, especially in a day, 10% a day. Those are astronomical moves. I mean, if you can make 10% trading anything in a day, you'll be a very happy and healthy, trader when it comes
Well, the
to
math,
making money.
the math is quite simple, Matt. And I remember it years ago when you could get 7% rates. And if you could get a 7% rate, you double your money. And
7
every
years.
8 years,
7
think about that.
Yeah.
Think about how fast you can double if you can maintain that type of hit ratio.
Yep.
Of
So
course, it's a lot harder than the latest Reddit posting will tell you.
so that, along with, we haven't talked about this name in a while, but GWPH got bought out. That was along with Tilray, really the other pharmaceutical company. I think that transaction happening in the 1st of February kind of put a cap on this market for a while. Also, that was a pretty big deal. And quite honestly, it's a 6-7 billion market cap. Might be a little frothy, but maybe not even enough. Again, when you look at how many states have yet to go public when it comes to legalized marijuana, there's still a lot of upside. So these dips, you have to expect volatility in this market, in the cannabis side. It's not going away. Again, I know for those that don't have cannabis markets in their states, they don't realize the scope of how big this stuff is. We live in a very small population state in Oregon that has been legal for 10 years, both medicinally and recreational. And, this is legit. It's not going away. And so I think people need to look at these, opportunities, these dips as opportunities, to, really take a gander and look at, and this is where, if you do your homework and set it up, a lot of these stocks are, you'll find the spots that look good. One of the ones that, again, I like for the picks and shovels is Cresco. It fell all the way back here on that day when they all got schmeezed back to 14, 15. I would have loved a little lower in the 14s. I didn't buy that dip. I was looking for a little bit lower, happened to be down here, around 14. It got down to about 15, basically. So, but I think there's some opportunities, and, look for these names. Crone is another one, CRON. That one's bounced again. I think they're going to go a little lower here still. But that one, you had a nice opportunity that filled in the holes there at 11 and a quarter, and it's again bounced 20% already. So the bounce came. Now, what is next? Are we going to continue back and test highs, or are we going to probably fall back lower and get another opportunity to buy with a much more normalized return at that point? Right? These were fast moves, and fast moves always get a bounce that's harder and than normal, because of the way the extension of the move that you had on the downside. So you need to be aware of when things move hard like that. They tend to bounce hard, and then they tend to settle. I mean, a perfect example of it is, how come, think about the GameStop, Bob. We don't hear about it now anymore.
Yeah. Of course, it's left the building like Elvis. All discussions have left the building.
And this is what happens, and this is what people don't realize. These things. Okay, everybody was all fevered up, and it was a headline grabber. It was clickbait for a week there, and now it's gone. Nobody talks about it. And look at the volume. The thing you need to point out is there was some volume here. Somebody got in early. They got the word out that we're going to make a short squeeze. That happened a week before the actual move started really happening. You could have bought it at $22, and then it went to 76, and then from there, these 2 days right in here is when it went silly, and now we're back to an area where it barely trades. I mean, nobody's trading this thing. So guess who's left? The holders holding the bag. The retail got tagged, and it's going lower. I continue to say this thing's going to zero still. So,
all right, Matt. Let's talk a little crypto. Let's come back to reality and talk a little crypto. And I think I got some of my technology figured out. I'm so excited. Whoa. A little matrix of crypto signals, Matthew. Bitcoin traded 50,000. And a lot of people excited about it. Excited about it. And I will say this: I've missed most of this last push. I was really looking for a pullback, and I'm not sure that we don't get that pullback. I still think a lot of this, all assets being one. So if there's a hiccup, if some reality comes back to the valuations in the stock market, and there's a retracement in the stock market, I just, so I am playing this very close to the vest. If I'm going to be at the con, I will partake. But I for sure don't want to go. Here's the thing where, from my opinion anyway, when you know that you don't want to go to bed holding something, and sometimes in crypto land, the price discovery gets really shitty and sketchy, and you get these runs and stop people out, and it comes right back. So if you don't want to, it's hard for me if I don't want to go to bed with the position to actually take a position. And that's the place I'm finding us in this market right now. It's sort of on the moon. There's for sure some more room. And I want to just share and show a couple of things that I've thought about here in this market. Hold on one second. I want to go to the weekly. I want to do some old school technical analysis, Matthew. Hold on. A little TNA, Matt. A little T and technical and analysis. This is the weekly. So first of all, we still have expanding potentiality on that collar this week, up to nearly 59,589. But for me, I think a more important story, and let's come back in. I'm going to call this little move here when they made the highs at 42,000, especially if you go down to the 3-day, it's a pretty well-defined flag. And when old school technical analysis, let's just call it 12,000-ish to 42,000-ish. Right. And then you take that flag from the bottom here, 28,000. From my math, somewhere around 50 or 69. How's my math doing so far? 58,000, 59,000 is the count on the flag. So it's in line with that collar. Again, I love when different analysis methodologies show up in the same type of spot. As I said, though, I don't want to hold this and wake up and it's off 30%, 20%. And from my opinion, that's for sure still part of a rational person's thinking. Matthew, a rational person's thinking is something that we don't always get in the crypto sphere. And so that's how I'm seeing strictly Bitcoin. The other thing I wanted to talk about was there's another way to play this too, right? If you don't want to hassle with opening exchange wallets, MicroStrategy here, raising another round. I think this round is 600 million in debt to buy Bitcoin. I mean, I got to tell you, borrowing money to buy Bitcoin now seems like a pretty risky proposition to me. So you could actually long or short MicroStrategy, right? And have access to the game. Another thing that I've noticed.
It was interesting. I got a text last night from a local friend who is not at all into markets. He said, "I'm ready to cash out my 401k, and I want to put it all into crypto." I go, "At 50,000 now, when you could have bought it in March at 3?" And that's all I said to him. And he doesn't, we didn't have to have any further discussion. He was like, "Yeah, maybe I should wait." I said, "Yeah, you should."
Yeah, and there's other places to play.
Yeah,
I don't know. And again, back to this being so there's talk about Ethereum, and this is an actual truth, and one of the biggest hindrances to the Ethereum network, and that's when a lot of people want to transact on it. It becomes very expensive. And this one ran, this dude, Crypto Man ran. And I love this about the Twitter sphere because I don't know, maybe he knows more than I do about crypto, right? So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It says someone sent $100 in Ether an hour ago, and the total cost was $117.30. So it cost him $17 to send $100.
Which
I can do
the math is worse than casino ATMs. That's 17%.
It's worse than that, and not much better than a bank wire, right?
Right.
And then the Bitcoin And we talked about this last week. Somebody sent $111 million, right, for $11.73, the complete opposite of that. But then I love how the first tweet is, aren't you the same guy that dumped TFT on your followers at the time you were live on YouTube video shilling it to them? And I don't know if that's true either, because in all honesty, how do you know? How can you verify anything? Anyway, it's interesting to see that it's still a very young asset class with a lot of things to be worked out. Just something that I noticed. And then lastly, and I missed this one, and Dash has been on my radar for a while, mostly because for me, in Venezuela in particular, it has a very long history of use case, right? People actually using Dash as a payment protocol. And this coin Telegraph Markets is saying Dash price, and it doubled in a week, and I was asleep on that one. And he's saying other privacy coins like XMR, Zcash, ZEC are still struggling versus Bitcoin. He goes on to say that he thinks Bitcoin is going to get a big retracement, and then you'll do better in any one of these coins. Man, I love this type of tweet because it says to me, oh, really? Well, I don't really fucking care what you think. What does the chart say? So let's go to and we say it over and over and over again. Let's go to the cross chart and let's tell a story. Let's tell a story about price discovery, not what you think is going to happen or why it should. All right. So let's come down to Dash. There's the Dash Bitcoin. And interestingly, it looks a hell of a lot better here on the weekly than it did 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I'm actually in line with this thought process, right? And I have definable places where I can say to myself, you know what, that's technically strong or that's technically weak, or your story, the price discovery is not being borne out in the chart, right? So, you know, up momentum on the weekly. Hell, they haven't been that since back here in January of 20. The thing's been getting schmeezed against Bitcoin, and look at all time versus it. I mean, it was a tenth of a Bitcoin down to, you know, when you're starting adding to a third zero, you're very small.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it for sure it has, and this was last week when it doubled in price, and I still haven't found the news item that you know painted a clear picture to me why that happened. Anyway, against the U.S. dollar, 253 gets you a Dash coin. It's down almost 4% today, 3.5%. I don't mind getting Dash, but again, I'll be patient. And if you look at any of these charts, for me, over time, the best protocol in trading is being patient, man. There's always another fish coming down the river that you can try to land. Well, why try to drown in the river chasing? It's the story is old as time, Matt.
Well, with the chase in mind, let me throw up our favorite junk coin, Doge.
Oh God, is this going to get schmeezed?
Going to. It's already been cut in half again.
Yeah, but now look at it. Now you're fully building time and volume inside the meat of that profile. Again, the nuance of profile trading, right?
This is the point. You know, again, we had the Elon Musk pump back to 9 cents, and you know, we've already traded back. You know, it's already been cut in half. I mean, people, if you can't, like, this is the thing. You had a great sell opportunity there if you were long. Use these events if you're playing the fool's gold, and you get lucky like that. You get Elon having some fun and tweeting bullshit. Take advantage of it. I mean, you're not smarter than the rest of the market. And this is the point. Like when you get these pumps and these things that happen and you know they're not long term and you know stuff is not going to hold, by all means, take your lucky musical chair money and move on to the next thing, right? GameStop is not going back to $513. I'll say it ever.
No, hey Matt, you know what?
Ever.
You have to bring up the one stock that has continued to flip us both off, and that's Roku.
Oh, we can talk about that. But Roku, I think, is going to symbolize the top of the equities market. And I'm still waiting, as we've made another new high today, although we've come off of that. We made another new high today around, you know, what was it, 487? Let me get an exact number. Yeah, right there, about 487 and a half. So we've come off $13. But Bob, yeah, until this thing, I mean, the ladder is so steep, I don't want to climb it. I do not want to climb it.
What does Roku do?
But I told you, we need the 10x. We need 564.
Yes.
From this low. I'll tell you what, I'll give you this low. I'll give you the low of 2018. That's 24. I mean, we've 20x that, but just from this one, we're 1 year. Here's the thing. If we don't get 10x by March 19th, which is the year low for Roku, I'm gonna get short. I will be short by 10x, which would be 564 or March 20th. It's a timing thing for me.
All right. I love it. What's wrong with timing?
Nothing. And again, I'm being patient. I have not touched this stock, Bob. I have not touched it. Everything in my gut.
I touched it once and I burned my finger on the stove. So I backed away.
Look at the daily on this. I mean, how many RSI keeps, topping? It's topped, but it keeps stretching higher. And I think it just wants that 10x. The volume is just dissipating. Look at that volume. There's no institutions acquiring this. It is pure. They are parceling off 10,000 shares a day as fast as they can at these prices. And they're doing a good job because the prices keep gapping up and this thing keeps staying green, right? Again, the markets can stay, more irrational than you can solve it unless you're, even Warren Buffett would have a hard time shorting this thing from 200 to 500. Right. And, that's only happened really in 4 months. I mean, the October 13th to where we are today, February 16th. I mean, that's 4 months. This thing has doubled again. Wow. Yeah. So
Wowzer.
Again, I'm watching this one along with, and I wanted to look at MicroStrategy since you brought it up. This thing, I mean, we said these things will be, they will show the top in Bitcoin, and neither of them, Roku or MicroStrategy is still showing a top. I mean, this thing, it might have topped last week at 1,300. By God, that is crazy. It's just nuts. It's nuts watching these charts. Like, I've never in my life of 35 years doing this, like, people, you're seeing moves that you probably won't see again in your lifetime. I mean, I can say that. Like, you won't see this it'll take another generation to have something like this happen. I mean, it was similar in the late 90s, but nowhere near the moves that we've seen here.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 tulips now.
There's 1,000. I mean, and every day there's a couple more coming out. Every single day there's a couple more. And frankly, I don't understand, Bob, how all these Chinese listings keep showing up every day. Like, where do they come from? How do they go from the Chinese markets over to the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ? They just show up like randomly in the middle of October. I do not understand how this game is working right now, quite honestly, and how there's so many. Add SPACs, add the unicorns, add all the Chinese shit, and is all that capitalization helping? Did that change even more once Biden came in? Because there seems to be every day 10 new Chinese stocks that you can't find any information on, that are freely trading on the U.S. exchanges. It's got to come to a problem at some point. It's got to come to a problem.
I don't get it either, Matt. All right, man, that's what we got. Hey, please visit us at marketvitals.io. Please, please, please share the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, share it and, put a disclaimer on what a couple of idiots that you just had to suffer through. I don't mind. And then visit us at marketvitals.io. Where soon we will be singing the national anthem on every day a Dallas Mavericks game is played, in honor of the cause of nationalism.
By the way, the Blazers took it to the Mavs at Dallas on Monday night. So congratulations.
Congratulations
to the Portland Trail.
All right, we'll talk some sports tomorrow. How's that sound? A wacky Wednesday.
Sounds great to me, Bobby.
All right, pal. Have a great day.